Joining us now on the show, we have Israeli author, journalist and columnist Gideon Levy. Thank you very much, Mr. Levy, for speaking to us here on NDTV. Thank you. My first question is, why was this war started? Because over the last 100 hours, we've been given multiple reasons, from an assassination attempt to the fact that Iran was considering attacking Israel or America. To your mind, what was the real motivation behind Operation Epic Fury and Operation Roaring Lion?
I think there was an opportunity, and therefore Israel, together with the United States, maybe Israel pushed the United States into this war. They saw the opportunity and they took advantage of the opportunity. For Prime Minister Netanyahu, fighting the regime in Iran and changing it and preventing Iran from getting nuclear capabilities is a life project. He's talking about it for 4 decades now, and that's really his claim to fame. And here was an opportunity when on one hand there is an American president who is ready to go for war with Iran and need maybe some kind of push which he got from Netanyahu. On the other hand, there was this opportunity to assassinate the leadership. So it got all together into a moment in which both America and Israel went to this war, which just started and nobody knows how will it end.
If you're saying Mr. Netanyahu pushed Donald Trump into this war, why did the US president agree? What does he or his country stand to gain?
So first of all, we don't know who pushed whom, but my impression is that that Netanyahu pushed Trump, but we don't have any evidences for this. In any case, for Trump, domestically he was quite stuck, and also internationally he's quite stuck. And he believed that he can do what he did in Venezuela, also in Iran. The problem is that Iran is not Venezuela, and war in Iran is not kidnapping a leader in Venezuela. It's not the same. But we are now in the middle of it, and the question, where will it lead us to?
So wait, Mr. Levy, are you saying that 2 countries, or in fact now about 17 countries, are at war with each other? The entire Middle East is going up in flames, and all of this is being done on the roll of a dice? That is just a gamble. Nobody really knows what are the objectives or how it's going to end.
Give me an alternative description. Do you have an alternative? I don't have an alternative description, because the thought that you can change a regime by bombing from the air was proven fault long time ago. I don't see it happening. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't see how bombardment of a huge country like Iran, really huge, how can it bring to a regime change? No clue. And if there is no regime change, okay, 8 months ago we bombed many military points in Iran, and we see 8 months later their capability is almost the same like 8 months ago. So what did we earn last time?
Because the White House said that the plan is you're going to bomb the leadership into submission, you're going to finish off the generals, the advisors, and eventually somebody from the conventional army and not the Revolutionary Guard will step up. That's their plan.
This is a fantasy, because this regime is very deep-rooted in Iranian economy and in Iranian society. It's not like a group of 10, 20, 30 people who run Iran. It's much deeper and much broader than this. And therefore, this fantasy that if you just kill the heads, you get it. No, it doesn't work like this. And above all, nobody knows who is going to replace them. Iran can turn into an anarchy, into a Somalia. Now they are taking the Kurds and trying to push them to fight against the government. What will come out of all this? I have no answers.
You know, because Mr. Levy, anyone who is questioning this entire campaign, they are asked, look, are you sympathetic to the Iranian regime? Here is, here are people who had slaughtered thousands of their own citizens just in January. What did you expect America to do? They're actually doing the country a favor by getting rid of a murderous regime.
Look, if I would have believed that Donald Trump and the United States really care about the Iranian people, then what you say could be relevant. We know very well that this is all cynical and they are using it for their own purposes, and that's the way the international scene is taking place. There are so many people who live under such tyrannies and America does nothing about it. Why to go far? There are 5 million Palestinians who live in the West Bank and Gaza under a terrible tyranny without any human rights, under Israel with the full support of the United States. So really, let's put aside this ridiculous position as if this war comes to save the Iranian people. No, it comes to save Israel, maybe. It comes to serve American interests, maybe.
Serve American interests how?
For America, Iran is a threat, a very far away threat, but Iran is not good for the region. Iran has all its proxies who are really very explosive, all of them, Hezbollah, Hamas. The region will be better without this regime, no doubt about it, and more stable. But I'm not sure that that's the way to get to it.
Okay, so you're saying that the objective is noble, but the method is not. How should America have done this differently?
I'm not sure it's possible. I really am not sure. I think that a good agreement with this system could solve at least the danger of the nuclear weapons and maybe also the danger of the ballistic missiles. Not everything can be achieved by force. Not everything. And military force is not an answer to any problem. And I believe that a good agreement, and my guess is that we could have reached a good agreement in which Iran disarm itself from its nuclear capability would be the maximum that you can get. What do you get now except of bloodshed? Until now, I don't see any achievements. The regime seems to be still very strong and very solid.
For us here in our country, the biggest question right now is, do you think India could also get drawn into this war, especially with one Iranian ship now being struck by America in international waters but off our coast?
The question is, what is the definition of being involved in a war? If one missile penetrated yesterday to Turkey, I don't think it means that Turkey is now part of this war, even though it is a violation, obviously. First of all, let's remember that the beginning of this war was timed so that your prime minister will leave the region the night before or the day before, and I'm sure that everyone took into account when they planned this war that Modi will not be around when we start. I'm sure that this was taken into consideration. He wouldn't come if he would have been at risk at this stage. Look, it can get into a world war. You can ask the same question about China, about Russia. Until now, all of them keep distance. Look how Russia is doing nothing for its ally. Look how China is doing nothing for its ally, namely Iran. I guess they will all keep a distance, but things can deteriorate, it's sure.
So you're saying that at the time Prime Minister Modi was in Israel, this plan for war was not afoot?
I'm sure that this war wouldn't have taken place as long as Modi was here. No doubt. Nobody would have done it. I mean, a planned war with a planned timetable, you must have to take into account his presence. And I felt very, very secure as long as Modi was here, because I knew, again, it's only my assessment. I was very sure that Israel will not go for war as long as Modi is still here.
Why is that? Could you please elaborate on that?
I can't elaborate. It makes sense that when a leader of such a huge country is in Israel, and let's say the airspace is closed, because that's the first thing that happens. The airspace closed down, and on Saturday morning, the airspace of Israel and the whole region, by the way, in the beginning, was closed. You don't make a leader at the size of the the leader of India being taken hostage and stay in Israel. It was very clear that if possible, they will wait until he leaves. Maybe they know, maybe it had no connection. Maybe it was planned for Saturday and he left on Friday. But I'm sure that they would have never done it when he's still here.
What do you make of India's stand vis-a-vis this entire conflict? The fact that again and again, in fact, even today, our foreign minister, external affairs minister has spoken to the foreign minister of Iran. Today also, our prime minister has spoken about how there is a need for de-escalation, talking about Ukraine and the Middle East, and that peace should be the only option. There should be no conflict. What do you make of India's stand?
That's the natural stand for India, to stay away from this conflict. Why should India get involved? Why should India get complicated with it? India has good contacts both with Israel and with Iran, as we know. One of the very few countries who has good contacts with both. There are very few countries, for sure not superpowers, who have good contacts with both. And I totally understand the need to get back to stabilization and to peace. The question is if India has any influence on this right now, because right now there is only one man who will decide about the continuance of this war, and this is Donald Trump.
And finally, do you think that this is the only practical way to address this, especially for countries like ours, to tread the middle line between both without overtly seen in one camp or the other?
The history told us that getting involved in wars is not always very constructive. And I wouldn't, if someone in India would ask me, should India take an active part? Sure not. The only way that India could be more productive is if India would try to go between, because of its very good ties with both. But right now it's not about mediating. I mean, the war is on now, and as long as this war is on, there is no room for mediation, for going between, for looking for compromises. The diplomatic stage is not on the table right now.
Mr. Gideon Levy, for speaking to us here on NDTV, thank you very much.